Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from the channel Lifting Pins and Needles, and I have already told you that I was going to be working with a skirt, very basic skirt that you can obtain free as a PDF form from the Italian pattern company called Marfy. Now I know this is not like a super mega popular brand in some areas because of the characteristics basically of the brand and what their aim is, you know, within the pattern world, you know. So if you don't know, Marfy is an Italian pattern company. It provides information in several languages, Italian, French, German and Spanish. And if you go to the website, you can click on your flag and you can get the information in your language. Now this initially started in the late 1960s as a catalog they would sell each season with sketches of fashion, where certain designers would get ideas and then to draft their own patterns. Afterwards they started producing patterns, and at present each year they release like seasonal collections, and each year they release about 200 patterns. And they describe their patterns as high fashion garments. So when you purchase a pattern, each pattern is like made for you, and each piece is cut piece by piece. It's already ready to sew. So the patterns have numbers, they don't have names. So for a certain style, you just use a code number, and you can only find sketches. So there aren't like proper line drawings as such, or photos of people of like the garment made. You would just have to go online to see if other people have made them, to see sort of, you know, what they look like. But the sketch is basically all you can get. So one of the important features of these patterns is that they don't come with seam allowances, similar to like Burda style. All the Brazilian magazines are the same. They just come with the pattern pieces with no seam allowance. Now you might think that is crazy because it's what you're used to, but there is a philosophy in the back and it's basically geared towards you as a sewist being able to customize the piece to you easier. When there's no seam allowances on a piece of paper, you can take really accurate measurements of the pattern pieces, do flat measurements that are super accurate, because it's basically from a stitch line to a stitch line. I do flat measurements on patterns with seam allowances, and it always throws me off a bit because I have to deduct and calculate, and it's not that accurate, you know, especially when you're trying to measure things on a curve, you know. So when there's no seam allowances, it's much easier to customize to your size and to make modifications. Also, there aren't any hem allowances because a hem is your preference also. It really sometimes disturbs me when a pattern says there's like 5/8 left for a seam allowance. And I don't like tiny seam allowances. I like at least an inch, anywhere between 2.5 to 4 centimeters. So an inch to an inch and a half is my preferred. That means I have to go and adjust the pattern piece, you know. So it's easier when you just have the pattern piece, you know that you have to add those according to your preference. So all this is actually explained on the website, the reasons why they don't have seam allowances and hem allowances. They do recommend you leave 1 to 2 centimeter seam allowance and 4 centimeters hem allowance, which is usually what I do. When I'm doing a skirt, I don't usually do that much seam allowance because it's really easy to flat measure. But when you're sewing something for the top, I usually leave 2. What I do then is I trace around the edges of the pattern paper with tracing paper on both sides, so that I have my stitching lines marked really clearly on the fabric all the way around the pattern piece. And then I baste and I try it on and make adjustments, so much easier. So in these patterns, the directions are sort of like stamped on the pattern pieces, and you'll find tiny writing on some areas of the patterns in the 4 languages, and then you have notch marks, and then you have letters like A, B, C on the different pattern pieces that you unite. So A with A, B with B, you know. There's also grain lines, you know, all that. It's all on the pattern piece. The other important feature about these patterns is that they do not come with instructions. So the only thing that you get is the pattern piece. And this is not a hand-holding thing. They don't it's not their aim to teach you how to sew. They just want to provide a really professionally high-level, well-drafted pattern, and then they say that they're easy to assemble. you know, so that is their viewpoint. So I'm going to show you how to access these patterns. I already have the blazer pattern and the skirt pattern, and I want to show you how to do that because it's not easy to find there and where to click and what to do. So I'll just insert that here, and then I'm going to insert a video I filmed of the pattern. Now I have the pattern here in a little baggie because that's how I store my PDFs, and you can see the sketch of the skirt right there. You can see it's slightly A-lined, so you're going to see that I modified that to have a normal 90-degree straight skirt. So that's all coming in now. If you follow the link that I've left in the description box, you'll get to this page that says free sewing patterns. Then you will see that it says register or sign in your account. So if you don't have an account, you can create one. As soon as you go and create one, log in with your password and email and everything, you'll be able to access the free patterns. Now follow this little hand that's appearing on the screen. I haven't figured out how to do a screen recording on my computer, so that's why I've done it like this. So when you click on that free patterns, then after you've registered, you can see these 3 images here, a blazer, a top, and a skirt. They're free, so you can access those in a way to try out the patterns. So I've decided to try the skirt. So you can see there that appears, and then you click on download and you can get your PDF pattern. Now there's other PDF patterns there. If you look on the top, there's loads of other PDF patterns there as well. So when you've downloaded your PDF, you can see that there is a layout there of the pieces of the PDF. It's only 12 pages. So in the PDF world, that is a tiny amount to print and cut up. Very small. There is also a fabric lay plan that they recommend. In this case, this skirt is supposed to be on the fold, the front and the back, with a side zipper. That's why you can see there's that dotted line in the middle. But you can do whatever you want. I mean, you can put a zipper on the back. You know, that's what a base skirt is for. So you can play around with it. About the body measurements charts, these are in centimeters because, yeah, I guess they use centimeters in Italy. Now, if you compare your European size to other brands, you will see that you use huge numbers here. So in the next, I'm going to show you what my measurements are. I've circled in red size 50, which is a hip of 110. My hip is a little bit wider, so I would be between a 50 and a 52, a 51, but let's just leave it smaller. Because I'm going to work with a knit sometimes, I'm going to cut the size that's below that. So for all my modifications, I'm either going to be working with 48 when I'm working with a knit or 50 when I'm working with a woven. This is a basic skirt by Marfy Patterns. It's number 0757, and I'm going to be using this one for a lot of skirt projects. So yeah, this is how it looks when you print it out. This is the front, this is the back. Now, this skirt is designed to be A-lined originally. So the side seams here actually went out like that, were A-lined, you know. I wanted this as a block to be straight down, 90-degree angle here. I didn't want it to go into the leg or out because the straight skirt is very practical to do adjustments and hacks, so I just wanted it straight. What I did was from my waist, my natural waist up here, measuring down, I know that my hip height is 20 centimeters, meaning that that's the difference between my waist and my hip, where my hip is at the fullest. For some people it might be 18, for others it might be 22, but I just marked with that line there where my hip height is on both pattern pieces. So I just measured across how much this was. 27 and a half centimeters. So I went down to the bottom of the skirt, 27 and a half, made a line and then just trimmed out that excess and just left this a straight 90 degrees. Now on the cutting mat, you can confirm that it's a 90-degree angle there. If I put it right on the side there, it matches up the lines vertically and horizontally. I've done that with both pieces. So all the things I'm going to do with this skirt are going to be based on a straight skirt. Not A-lined, not tapered into the leg. Okay? So that is the first thing I would advise you to do, because having an A-lined skirt as a block is not that practical. So ignore the lines. I've already been messing with the skirt. I'm going to show you some things up close about the pattern. So looking at this pattern, it took me a while to figure out what was what, because there's like no printed big things that tell you what pattern piece is what. But here you can see this tiny writing. So if you come up close, it's in different languages. And my PDF matching was poor because I missed things from under there. But basically there it says half front on the grain. So this is the front, that's how I knew. It's in Italian, it's in French, it's in Spanish. There it says delantera. So yeah, that is where it tells you that this is the front. So tiny writing there on the corner of the pattern. So I just went ahead and marked the huge front so that I don't get confused, you know. And the back here, it has writing there and it has writing there. So I'm just going to show you here for the middle back. It says whole half back on the grain, and it's also in Spanish. So half back. So basically this is the center back here, and here it says left side zipper. Yeah, so yeah, it gives you those indications, but basically this doesn't come with instructions, anything. So this skirt is designed to have a zipper on the side of the hip, but if you consider this a block, you can do whatever you want. You can put a zipper there in the middle back, which is my preference. So I've placed a huge fat back there. Now the length that you prefer for your skirts is personal preference. I like cutting out my skirts, if I measure from the top there down 60 centimeters, and that includes about 4 centimeters of hem allowance. Now these patterns don't come with hem allowance either, so it's up to you to decide what you like, what your preference is, you know. Now this pattern originally, it was A-lined. He had a piece like that so that you could do like a slit sort of thing. I am ignoring that. I don't want that. I just want this skirt as a basic skirt block. Okay, so from this you can do many things, and you'll be seeing this loads because I'm going to start using this a lot too. This skirt comes with facings here. That is the way it's designed. It's not designed to have a waistband. So here as well, in tiny writing, you will find inner part, which means facing. Here it says whole half front of the grain. So this is the center. So they've actually, it's printed out like, it would be like that if you want to match it to the skirt, because this is where the center of the skirt is. And the back, it also says there inner part, and there on the thing it says whole half back. So there, because this skirt is designed to have a zipper on the side, that's why it says to put these two on the fold, but you can do whatever you want, personal preference. If you want to put a zipper here on the back, you just leave seam allowance here on that facing piece. So based off this pattern, you can make a billion things. You can do a lot of things. I'm going to be using it from now on instead of my skirt block. I've compared my block to this and it's quite similar. The fit is fine on me. So tomorrow I'm going to show you how to draft facings for this skirt, facings that go inside, and the same technique can be applied to pants. And then the day after that, I'm going to show you how to make a curved waistband based on this skirt. And the technique is the same on any skirt you have, or any pair of pants as well. So I encourage you to get this pattern, give it a go, make a toile or a muslin in a cheap fabric, check for fit. Try to make this skirt your block, because it's so much easier than drafting one if you don't want to go that route, you know. You can just have one and it's Marfy, and then you can say you made a Marfy skirt, you know, because it's quite respected, sort of. It's a respected brand. So I hope you download your pattern, and I will see you tomorrow with how to make the facing, and I'll show you a way that I'll provide proof that it works as well. See you later, and happy sewing. Bye.